Hello dear colonists, welcome to a new Rimworld video. Today I'm going to rank planet types from the Rimworld universe based on the quality of life they will offer in my opinion. I've seen this aspect being discussed a few times in the comments on which kind of planets some of you would like to live on, so I decided to make my own take on the subject. If you haven't seen it yet, I would heavily recommend pausing and watching my video on planet types, so you'll know in detail what each of these planet types mean. And with this being said, let's begin. Obviously, the first one we are going to rank is going to be the Rimworld. We all know how Rimworlds are, and we know that luck also plays a great factor in whether our life is going to be a good one or whether we are going to get literally war crimed 5 seconds after stepping foot on one. Who knows? Perhaps the Rimworld itself is even being targeted by a planet killer or is currently undergoing a transcendence. Overall, I'd say that Rimworlds belong in B tier. Rimworlds are not the best planets in the universe, but there is definitely worse options. With the correct skill set and a bit of luck, we might just find our place in a decent colony. Next is the Dead World. There isn't much to say about this one. Dead worlds are just straight up uninhabitable. No flora, no fauna, no oxygen, nothing at all. They're usually just a big empty rock. F tier. Animal worlds. I feel that animal worlds are debatable. They are usually the result of terraforming robots preparing dead worlds to be inhabited by humans, with the exceptions that humans never arrived and now the entire planet is inhabited strictly by animal life. The good news is, if animals are living on it, then probably so can you. There's going to be food, there's going to be water, there's going to be oxygen, forests, and so on. The bad news is you're going to be alone, like completely alone. And if you don't have the required survivalist skill set, reality is you're probably not gonna make it. I'm gonna place it into C tier. If the lack of a human interaction won't cause you to spiral into insanity first, chances are you're probably gonna become a wolf's next meal. And if not, the lack of medicine will definitely cause you to succumb to some illness at some point. Dino worlds are similar to animal worlds, but as the name implies, it's mostly dinosaurs. Sure, you still have access to food and water and all of that, but let's be real. Chances are you won't be able to hunt a mammoth, and most of the fauna and flora is going to be incredibly hostile towards you. D tier. Medieval worlds. What can I say? The average life expectancy during medieval times was around 30 years. If you make it past childhood, then you have escaped the greatest danger. But I'd say that the lack of properly developed medical systems and the overall chaotic and constant wars that are likely taking place on those planets will represent a great risk to you. I'd say C tier. Pretty rough, but definitely doable. Many before us did it, but it's not going to be a fun time. End worlds. Planets currently undergoing industrial revolution. Healthcare has definitely evolved a little. People have homes and families, and wars are not as common as they would be on a medieval planet. At least now there is some technology and stability. I'd say B tier. Just because healthcare still isn't as advanced as nowadays, and poverty, along with possible wars, might still be an issue. Industrial worlds are end worlds, but with one step up. They have fully undergone their industrial revolution and are now completely devoted to industry. Giant factory cities predominate the planet, and you're going to be a factory worker most of your life. Again, B tier, but probably better than end worlds, as I can assume for those worlds to be in a more stable position. Farming planets. Completely dedicated to farming and agriculture, those planets rarely if ever see conflict, with the exception of Filson, a rural farm world where native Filsoners seem to be in a conflict with the planet's landowners. The landowners are in control of a militia group that commonly attacks the natives of Filson, but I feel like Filson is the exception to farm worlds, not the rule. Another thing about farm worlds, some of them are actually very technologically advanced and make use of mechanoids such as agri-hands for their farms. I'd say that overall, farm worlds sound pretty chill. You will spend your entire life growing potatoes, sure, but will that be even that bad? Fresh air, plenty of food, and thriving communities. I'm giving farming planets A tier. All things considered, they don't sound that bad. Steam worlds are basically industrial worlds that become dedicated to mass production and automation. Lots of machines, lots of inventions, lots of innovation. Look, I'm going to be biased on this one because I do love steampunk themes and aesthetics, so I'm going to place it in A tier. I'd say SteamWorlds sound pretty cool and definitely full of opportunities. Sure, you might be a regular Joe working a 9 to 5 for a living wage, but there is also the potential of becoming a train or airship engineer, perhaps even an inventor. Sounds really chill. I like it. Midworlds are basically planets that find themselves in our current state. Earth, right now, at the date of this video's publishing, the year 2024, just in case you're watching this from the future. This is probably going to be an A. Earth is not the best spot currently. We are still dealing with wars and pollution and global warming, but hey, the fact that the most of us even have the luxury of simply standing and watching YouTube, not worrying whether we are going to have enough food tomorrow or stuff like that, I'd say that on average it's pretty good overall. Could definitely be worse, especially within Rimworld's universe standards. Prison planets are exactly what they sound like. It's just giant prisons. Itak is one of those planets where the Itaki come from. They're usually pretty harsh, and if you're on a prison planet, you're probably either a guard or a convict. Or maybe even a combination of both, who knows. Having convicts work as guards to lower their sentence sounds like a good concept in theory, but probably terrible in practice. I'd say that prison planets are going into the C tier. It's going to be rough living there, as it will be on any prison, but at least you're probably guaranteed a bed to sleep in and 3 meals a day. Just don't drop the soap. Alright. Herb worlds. Those are interesting ones. Herb worlds are kind of the opposite of glitter worlds. They are completely covered in large cities, apartment blocks, huge factories, pollution, and pretty much everything goes on there. Those places are very overcrowded, and if you're born on an herb world, chances are you won't ever know what a chicken or a tree looks like. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Living on an herb world sounds depressing. The greatest challenge there is probably managing your mental health. The fact that they are overcrowded also means that you're probably going to live your entire life within a small apartment rather than a large, spacious house. Jobs are going to be hard to find, but at least there's going to be plenty of chances to form a human connection with other people. You definitely won't be lonely there. I'd say B tier. The idea of an herb world doesn't particularly bother me, but at the same time I can see the cons of living in such a planet. Now, glitter worlds. I think you all know where glitter worlds are going on this ranking. Instant S tier. If you find yourself on a glitter world, that's it. You made it. Best healthcare in the universe, most generous human rights, little to no wars, plenty of jobs and opportunities for you to become whoever you want. Seriously, glitter worlds are essentially planets so well developed that even if you were to die, if you wanted to, you could probably be brought back to life. Other people around you are going to be generally very kind and trusting. You will make plenty of friends and you will receive help solving any type of issue you will ever have. Glitter worlds are designed to be a human utopia, and they definitely deserve S tier. Core worlds are planets that represent the core of human civilization, basically the most important planets in the universe. They are super well developed in many aspects, but they are under threat of various anarchist groups. Wars are also not uncommon, but given how well developed core worlds are, I'd say that they will belong in A tier. Finding yourself in one of the most important planets in the universe is bound to have some pretty good advantages and guarantee at least a decent life. Toxic worlds are just as you expect them to be. Completely covered in pollution and toxicity, mainly inhabited by wasters, they are essentially a hellscape of radiation and poison. You will have to fight, you will have to scavenge, you will have to put a lot of effort just to make it to the next day. And even then, it might not be enough. I'd say D tier. They're essentially post-nuclear apocalypse planets, and boy, that sounds like a bad time to me. Trash planets are essentially empty planets used as dumping grounds for nearby glitter worlds. Since glitter worlds are inhabited by people with a great moral compass, we can assume that they will never use worlds inhabited by humans or animals to dump their waste on. Instead, they will most likely pick a dead world, Planets that will be uninhabitable to begin with, so that they wouldn't hurt anyone by depositing their garbage there, which makes trash planets an automatic F tier. Junkyard planets are similar, but they're used by pretty much everyone, except that the stuff deposited on junk planets is generally salvageable. People also live on junk planets, and I would assume they make a living out of salvaging whatever is thrown there, scrapping large destroyed spaceships for parts to resell to traders in exchange for food or medicine. I'd say C tier. You'll have to get your hands dirty, but definitely doable. Water worlds. You can already guess D tier. It's just, well, constant war. Not even debating this one. Ice worlds are just, well, ice. That's it. Maybe some fish or plants that adapted to the extremely cold temperatures? I'd say D tier. While they sound completely unlivable, keep in mind that Itak is also an ice world, but it could be an exception. Although if they were completely unlivable, I doubt anyone would have turned one into a giant prison. Oceanic planets are just giant oceans. One of them at least is inhabited, namely Wavia. Despite that, they don't sound like a place where you could live, unless you're a fish. F tier towards D tier, just because Wavia exists and they somehow managed, but I think Wavia is just the exception. Glass worlds are an automatic F tier. It's been established they can no longer sustain life except small bacteria and microbes, and we are neither of those. Transcendent worlds are planets that were fully taken over by an architect. Whether that will be good or bad for you depends entirely on the architect, but given that there is no confirmed reports about people living on transcendent worlds, with the fates of people being on one being described as either becoming part of the planet or being destroyed, I'd say F tier. You literally couldn't live there. Alright, I'd say this is pretty much it. If you have any different opinions regarding this ranking, let me know down in the comments. I would like to thank, as always, our members for supporting the channel directly. If you would like to become a member, all you have to do is click on the join button below. I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, I had a great deal of fun making it. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and as always, I will see you on my next video. Have a good night.